Labyrinth has proven to be very effective for me in the Duelist Cup. In this video, we're going to take a look at a couple of matches, but check out this match history where we went 17 wins and only 3 losses, one of which apparently was a disconnect, but I'm going to show you one of these losses that went 30 turns. It's absolutely crazy. Let's go ahead and take a look at this insane Labyrinth run. So for those Master Duel players that are still around on my channel and really followed me in my Flander runs in previous seasons, this matchup is going to show you why Labyrinth is just simply power crept Flander out of the format, so to speak. In this matchup here, yes, it's nice that the opponent can play Ash Blossom, not having to worry about Max C, so they can actually negate something that's relevant, but negating a 5-frame Gear Gamma doesn't always feel great. Going second here against Flander, like, you would think, okay, they are able to stop the Gamma, they're able to get the search, the Elbows here will make the Empin able to tribute, and then they'll chain block the Empin search with the Eaglin, and if I negate the Eaglin, it doesn't go back to hand, sorry, and they would have to basically have another bird in hand in order to use the trap card if they search it with Empin, right? Unfortunately, I have to make the decision to negate with Gamma before I can see what they search to know if they need this Eaglin back in hand before they can summon another bird. Clearly, they don't have a Robina, they don't have Map, obviously it's at 1, so if they had a Stree, they could have used it. If they have a Toucan, obviously they can't use it. Like, Stree can't be used right now, but now it can since there is a Ash in the graveyard. But yeah, there's a lot to go over there. Let's continue on and see what happens here. So we get them to waste an Ash, which is good because that means Ash won't be used on the Welcome Labyrinth trap cards. They're going to then use the Elbows cards, and this is a good reason why you could play this package is because it makes your Empin a 1-card tribute if you are able to at least get 1 bird in Eaglin, because you normally would need 2. So they're going to be able to search here, and I'm going to actually make the gamble and say, or take the gamble and say, I think you need this Eaglin back to your hand in order to use trap cards. So I think if I negate the Eaglin, you don't search for trap card, maybe you search for Advent of Adventure instead, and you try to get a Robina to hand for next turn. They do search trap cards, so I'm like, okay, so you have a Stree or a Toucan in hand. The Gamma gets banished, the Eaglin is engraved, and we draw Imperm for turn, and this card just single-handedly beats Flander if you don't have the ways to dodge it. If you watch my Flander gameplay, you know I've said many times, you play the Book of Moons, you play the Advent of Adventures, simply to try to dodge Imperm, and when the Cowrie comes out, you'll probably play that as well as another way to dodge Impermanence and Veilers. The opponent goes, activates the Dreaming Town because I attempted to go Battle Phase, and they're going to normal summon Toucan. And so yeah, sure enough, they have the bird. They only opt to activate Toucan effect and not Eaglin effect. So they don't, again, if you watch my videos, you know this is why it's important to know these combinations. You need to activate both effects, because if one of them gets negated, at least the other one resolves, right? You need this Eaglin back to your hand. So the fact they only activate Toucan here because they're greedy and they want to activate Eaglin on rotation to get it back to hand, like with the Eaglin effect as well. I'm gonna go ahead and Imperm this, and this shuts down all of your birds, right? I really doubt you have a Stree in hand, or you drew Robina for turn, for example. So your birds are here, they're all exposed, and now I have talents, and I thought for like maybe 10 seconds, do I want to just rip the last card in their hand and just set Max C, use Big Welcome on it? But I'm like, no, let me draw 2. We draw an Ariana, which is huge. So we're going to go ahead, summon Ariana, they don't have another Ash, and we opt to search Cool Clock since we have Big Welcome in hand. I go Battle Phase first so I can get the Toucan out of rotation. Then in main phase 2, I'm going to set the Big Welcome, activate Cool Clock so I can activate the Big Welcome. And you guys already know I play Flander. I know all the tips and tricks. I know how to beat this deck. I know how to play against it. Like, so we're going to summon the Lovely in defense mode, pop the Eaglin here, and we're going to go ahead and reset that Big Welcome. So of course we summon Lovely in defense, so it plays around the Empin. We set the Welcome and we pass turn. In my opinion, this was a decent play, knowing like what kind of board the opponent went for. Again, if you normal summon Eaglin as your first action and you don't follow it up with the Robina, it's a pretty strong indication that you have no other bird that's playable in hand. So like, you know, you've seen me summon Eaglin first in some instances when I had Robina to bait out an Imperm, but in this instance we don't need it. We're gonna let this Regeki go through because the Big Welcome will reborn the Lovely from the graveyard anyways. They set a card and pass, and it's going to be kind of funny because this field spell, right, is going to reveal kind of what was going on here. So the Ariana is summoned off of the Welcome Labyrinth that we drew. We're going to search for the Lady. We're going to activate Lady. This is all in the end phase, by the way, guys. Talk about main phase 3. So on the special summon of Lady, we're then going to now trigger the Big Welcome, which is now activatable since we control a Fiend monster because we reset it with Lady, or with Lovely, sorry, and Lovely says the trap card that you set can't be activated unless you control a Fiend monster. So of course we have one now thanks to the Welcome Labyrinth, the OG one. Off of the Lady, we're going to set an Ice Dragon Prison just to be cheeky and steal the opponent's M-Pin, but we also might just want to banish birds in case they top deck one, but the game's likely not getting that far. So off the Big Welcome, we reborn the Lovely from the graveyard, bounce back the Ariana, and we're going to go ahead and pop the set card, which isn't evenly matched. So why do they activate Raigeki and not evenly? Well, because you can't activate evenly because you have a face-up field spell on the field. They go ahead and pass turn, and props this opponent for not just like resigning. They actually want their games and or points for the Duelist Cup here, so that's good. We're going to normal summon Ariana and grab a Stovey Torby. We're going to use Lovely to reset the Big Welcome since we drew another Imperm for a turn there. We're going to go ahead and activate Stovey Torby, ditching the useless Maxi. So you can just see, guys, like when you have a furniture in rotation, all of the cards in Labyrinth, whether you draw drivers and imbuers that are useless, maxis, etc., they're all useful because they're all pitchable materials for those furnitures. We're going to go ahead and activate Field Spell, switch everything to attack, and yes, we do have game on board because this is 7,500 damage, but we're just going to, again, just go through the motions to get extra challenges done. We're going to go ahead and activate the Cool Clock there, then chain the Big Welcome to summon from the deck. We're going to set a Compulse off the Lady there, summon out another Lady, pop the Field Spell with the Labyrinth, so again, just get some more destruction in there for the challenges. And then we're going to reset Welcome and special summon back out the Stovey Torby. And then to add insult to injury, we win the game with the opponent's M-Pin. M-Pin always comes back to me. Konami, can you unlimit this M-Pin, please? Like, free M-Pin. Anyways, let's see what else we've got going. So like I mentioned in earlier matches, the nice thing about Labyrinth is you don't really care about people maxing you, and you can usually outplay a Nibiru anyways. In this matchup here, we're going second once again. The opponent uses a Small World, pitching an Effect Veiler, which I love to see, and getting rid of a Jizukiru from the deck, which is Kaiju, and they reveal that they're on Vanadium. So they go ahead and they grab a Room Heart, and they normal summon a Torrid, and then they're going to pop it with the Room Heart here to special summon, and they're going to get a couple of effects off here. Does the opponent have the Ash Blossom or the Call By or Cross Out? No, they don't. And Max C into a combo deck is just like lovely here, right? Because the odds we're going to draw into a Nibiru are kind of high since this deck will special summon a lot before they get a negate up. Not too much, but you know, we might get like 4 or 5 draws, which is a pretty good chance that we draw in additional interruptions like Imperms, Ashes, Nibirus, etc. They go ahead and they grab the trap card Reframing, and they have used their normal summon and their once per turn effect of Room Heart here. So I'm thinking like, well, I have the Cool Clock and the Stovey Torby, whatever they synchro summon here, I'm likely going to pop it and just end their turn because the trap card doesn't do anything unless they have a synchro monster on field. So the Vanadium Triscuta, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but it says when this card is synchro summoned, you can target one level 2 tuner in your graveyard. It's not a like on summon effect, it's like you have to activate this effect. So it asked me if I wanted to chain because I had toggle on, and I'm absolutely going to do that. You're going to see us use Cool Clock and then chain the Stovey Torby to it. You have to do it in this order in order for Cool Clock's second effect of being able to special summon itself when a furniture card is basically activated. Otherwise, if you do it in the reverse order and activate the Stovey Torby first and then the Cool Clock, you will not get the effect of being able to summon Cool Clock to the field. So with the Stovey Torby, we're going to be able to set the Big Welcome, and because of the Cool Clock effect, we're going to be able to activate it the turn we set it. And of course, we're going to go ahead and bring out a Lovely, bouncing the Cool Clock to hand. Now, keep in mind that the card, the Big Welcome, obviously we needed a monster on field, so we absolutely need to special summon the Cool Clock with its second effect, and that way we're able to bounce it back for the Lovely. Lovely will pop the synchro monster here, preventing it from using its effect and shutting down the trap card they brought to hand. We're going to be able to trigger Stovey Torby to special summon. In defense mode, the opponent reveals Lightning Storm, and I'm like, 1 card left in hand, you've used your normal summon. Pretty good chance that I have this game in the bag now. Look at our beautiful hand here. We've got a Big Welcome and an Ariana and a Stovey Torby in rotation. The opponent knows it's too much to deal with. They just end up scooping it up. So this matchup is rather interesting. We end up opening the Lovely here, but it's not necessarily the worst since we can pitch it for Chandelier. We start out with the Pot of Prosperity, revealing 6 cards, and out of all of these, like the Nibiru, the Ash, the Maxi are all nice. We already have Chandelier, but we opt to take Big Welcome. you know, if you knew what your opponent was playing, maybe you would take something else. Like Maxi obviously is always a great choice, but of course you run the risk of it getting called by or ashed or cross-outed. And Nibiru is obviously very strong in this format right now. The opponent reveals that they're on Drron, and so once I see this, I'm going to go ahead and activate the Welcome Labyrinth early so that I can grab a lady to my hand, which I can then special summon because I know for sure I'm going to be using the Imperm on the Xyz monster to negate it. So the opponent continues to cycle through their Drron monsters, grabbing you know, ritual spells and monsters. They go into the Xyz monster, and I'm going to go ahead and Imperm this to shut it down completely. Off the lady, we're going to set Dimensional Barrier, which I don't know if that's necessarily the strongest, but I don't think you can use Ice Dragon Prison on the Drron monsters. So the opponent has gone through 3 different Drron names now. They've summoned the Diviner, sent the Herald, and they synchro summon into this card, which I didn't know what it did, but apparently you can pay 1,000 life points and just banish a card on the field. Well, target and banish. So I'm like, I don't want them to banish I don't want them to banish my Dimensional Barrier. So before they can activate this effect, I'm going to have to be forced to trigger my big welcome here, which will summon my Lovely from the graveyard that I pitched with the Chandelier, bounce the Ariana back to hand, trigger off some effects in the grave like the Labyrinth, Welcome Labyrinth, sorry, Labyrinth Chandelier, and pop the Michael. So the opponent ends up using the ritual spell in order to summon Natasha, and I'm just thinking like, okay, they probably have no more Drron monsters to use. They've used 3. They've gone through all of like their Drron names that they have access to right now, and they don't, or if they do already have the boss ritual monster, they didn't have enough to summon it because my imperming of the Xyz monster messed them up too much, which is good. And so this is definitely manageable. So once I see this and they've used their normal summon, I'm going to go ahead and Daruma Cannon, and then they set 1 and go to end phase, and I'm like, that's great. So I'm going to go ahead and activate Chandelier, pitch the Ariana, set a big welcome. We draw into Nibiru, which is like 1 turn too late, but that's fine. And we're going to go ahead and activate Lovely to reset Daruma Cannon, activate Big Welcome, and trigger Lady to set a Compulse, and then summon and bounce back Ariana to trigger the Welcome Labyrinth, the Chandelier, and the Lovely Labyrinth to pop the back row, which was just a bluff. We normal summon the Ariana and grab a Coup Clock so that we can activate a card that was set this turn, and we chain the Chandelier to it so we can grab a Coup Clock off the furniture activating. We activate the field spell that we set with the Chandelier, activate the Welcome Labyrinth that was set this turn, and use the effect of Labyrinth to pop the monster and grab the second lady to field, which is over 8k damage, and that is game. So in this 17 win and 3 loss run, like I mentioned, one of my matches got like disconnected. I did lose a pretty hard fought match. It was like 17 turns to a branded deck. They just ended up outgrinding me, unfortunately, because they kept banishing my cards like my Lovelies, Ladies, etc., and I just didn't have enough to overcome it. And branded is a bad matchup for Labyrinth anyways, but I have beaten one other branded deck though that I've seen so far. Regardless though, in this matchup here we are going up against a Blue Eyes deck, and you know, I would think I was on like a 7 win streak or something at this point, and I again only taken 2 losses in like maybe 14 matches. And sometimes, if you guys wonder about like algorithms and stuff, I really do think there is one in this game, because sometimes it just feels like the game is just against you. And so I'm just speeding up this matchup, going up against Blue Eyes of all things, so clearly this guy's just like having a good time. Not necessarily super competitive, but Blue Eyes is cool, right? They just got all that new support for the 2nd anniversary of Master Duel, I believe, or whatever, 1st anniversary of Master Duel, I don't know what it is, whatever it is. Like, there's Blue Eye stuff in the shop right now as of me making this video. But we're just drawn into nothing, no engine, and I think if we did see an engine, it just got Ash Blossomed. Yeah, I think we saw Welcome Labyrinth, but unfortunately we can't do too much there. This is when I was still playing the Shufflers. I've since taken these out for Triple Tactics Talents instead, because the Shufflers, while in theory they seem very good, like in actual practicality, I found myself not really using them too much. I think in this matchup though, I do end up using the Mudora in order to shuffle back some Blue Eyes. Anyways, yeah, we're still drawn into nothing, and this is how it goes sometimes, like just can't get much. So this Azure Eyes is going to attempt to summon from the graveyard, and that's when we use the Medora to put back the Blue Eyes. Otherwise, I think we just lose, because that's 3,025, which is 55. The opponent hits me for another 25 and ends their turn. And how did this game go 30 turns? Well, the opponent kind of takes the piss with me. Oh, yeah, I was also trying to play Summon Limit in this build, which this was the match that made me realize, like, if I have Summon Limit up, if I draw Nibiru, like, yes, I can pitch it for furniture still, but like, it's kind of useless, right? Summon Limit is without a doubt a very powerful card, but because it's not a normal trap, it doesn't really synergize that well with the Labyrinth cards. Anyways, we just went through an important interaction there. My opponent ended up beating over the Keldo, and they banish my Daruma Cannon. Now you might be thinking, Quantum, why didn't you activate Daruma Cannon to send the BLS, right? Then, you know, because it's summoned with the blue eye, so it's untargetable, indestructible. You can't out this with Labyrinth. Daruma Cannon is basically one of your only answers, and you just lost it. It got banished. Well, yes, I think the reason is because you have to have, or there must be, not just yours, it can be your opponent's, a face-up like monster in the regular monster zones, because it says change as many monsters on the field as possible to face down defense position. Then, and this then is the critical part here, because I have to fulfill this condition of flipping a monster on the field face down before I can fulfill the second condition, or the second effect, which is if either player controls face-up monsters, they must send all monsters, all face-up monsters they control to the graveyard, which obviously means any link monsters because they can't be flipped face down, or tokens, I guess, too. But yeah, so when the opponent attacked me, I couldn't activate the Daruma Cannon, otherwise I obviously would have. So now that I know that interaction, I will summon Keldo if I ever do play it again, and I have a Daruma Cannon, right? So keep that in mind if you do play that. It's very important to know, I guess. Yeah, but the opponent is just taking the piss out of me here, passing turns, not trying to win the game, I guess. And we just keep drawing brick after brick after brick. It's kind of hilarious. We are able to finally resolve a Welcome Labyrinth. And again, the opponent is just taking the piss because he could have waited till I attacked and then activated the droplet, but he opted not to do that. Yeah, you're going to see kind of what's going on here. Like, he clearly could have won like multiple times, but it's really unfortunate that I couldn't just draw something to get my engine rolling, because I'm pretty sure if I did end up getting my engine going, I would have come back and won the game if he didn't try to capitalize and like just win the game when he had multiple opportunities to. And it would have been really nice to punish that. So the opponent ends up crashing their BLS, which is indestructible because they have a Lightning Storm, which wipes out my entire back row, unfortunately. So we lose, yeah, pretty much everything that was important. And like, I mean, we just keep drawing all the bricks, right? Like, you can't make this stuff up. Psy-frame driver, the only other thing that I can draw that would be even worse in this scenario is like another Nibiru or a Lovely, right? I guess Lady also wouldn't be doing too much in this scenario, since again I drew summon limit. Okay, we draw Gamma here, which is kind of funny, but again, the opponent can just straight up attack for game. This summon limit unfortunately doesn't do that much against Blue Eyes, obviously, but yeah, they just pass turn. So I'm like, okay, like please let me just draw something to get something going, because like I said, I would just love to come back and punish the opponent not winning the game. And the reason I'm not resigning here is because I actually want the challenges, like activating traps and special summoning, etc. for the Duelist Cup. So I do want just the opponent to win the game, but for some reason I'm prolonging my torture, because I'm like, well, he's given me outs, I guess. Like, they activated a normal trap, it triggered the Lady that I drew for turn, and so we just keep trying to survive. We draw Ash Blossom here, and I'm like, okay, I guess I set this and try to survive, because I really do think if I draw like an Ariana or a Furniture or something, like I might actually be able to survive. But the opponent finally ends up going into the Blue Eyes Jet that was discarded once they pop a card with the Blue Eyes. I think this is Alternative Dragon. Yeah, but they end up not attacking me for game, so they still, you know, just are taking the piss with me. And of course, I draw the other brick, more bricks in the Lovely. And again, normally these wouldn't be like necessarily the worst things to draw, but just because of the situation that I was in, like I can't use any of them, obviously. So finally the opponent ends up ending my misery, and I take the L there, but that's kind of a wild game that I just wanted to show you guys. You know, this format doesn't seem all that bad simply because it is such a hand trap heavy format, and honestly, without powerful cards like Nibiru and Max C going second, you are likely going to be losing the duel because of where the power level is in this game. But that being said, the variance allows you to win games going second still if you do open powerful hand traps, which I think is a little bit more relevant in this format than in past formats. I don't know, that's just how it feels. I do think Labyrinth is in a very good place. Here you can see us going second against a mirror match here. We end up using our Ash Blossom to negate the opponent's Welcome Labyrinth. They imperm our Ariana, and we're going to be able to set 2 trap cards, unfortunately not having our Labyrinth Engine trap cards in rotation yet. The opponent doesn't have anything, no Furniture, no Ariana, normal summon in order to extend. We draw Nibiru, which is normally a brick in this matchup. We just need to discard it with the Furniture cards though. So we're going to attempt to compulse back our own Ariana, which I know is a risk because the opponent probably has another imperm set. They are able to trigger a Lady in the hand though, since we did activate our compulse, unfortunately, and we draw into a second Nibiru off of our Maxi triggering there. The opponent reveals the last card in their hand in Ash Blossom, and right now the opponent is definitely in a stronger spot since my imperm can't target that Lady since there are face down set cards on the opponent's field, but also if the opponent activates one of their trap cards, they're going to be able to start setting cards cards with Lady since I have no interruptions. Somehow the opponent does not have any trap cards to activate to start cycling traps with Lady, but they did draw a card and pass, which indicates to me that they might be on a Max Seat or Ash Blossom draw. Now this set, Ice Dragon Prison, is actually relevant, but we do need the opponent to have a Fiend monster in the graveyard, and well, what do you know, the opponent ends up having their own furniture and ditching the Nibiru, just like what I have in hand here, dead Nibiru, so they pitch it, but they've got everything they need. They got the Lady, they've got furniture, we have Lovely, which is a brick, and Nibirus, which are bricks in this matchup, and our Ariana was negated twice with Ash and Imperm, so we're really behind here. But again, it really pays to know how to play Labyrinth, because if you don't know how to properly or when to properly trigger effects, it can be very detrimental. The opponent has a big welcome now in rotation thanks to the Stovey Torby, and this match is essentially over. We have lost. We draw Imperm for turn, we set it, and pass turn. The opponent opts not to trigger the big welcome. The only reason I can think of is they're afraid of our trap cards here, so they're just going to hit us for 3,000, putting us down to 600 and then passing turn. And I'm not activating my Ice Dragon Prison here because I don't want to trigger the Lady on their turn where they can activate a trap, set a trap and activate it on my turn. But also I'm waiting to activate the Ice Dragon Prison for when they activate their own big welcome, because if I activate Ice Dragon and target the Stovey Torby to try to banish the Stovey Torby and the Lady, they just trigger big welcome, summon something to the field, bounce the Lady to protect it, then the Stovey Torby comes to the field, and unfortunately I can use their Stovey Torby, I guess, to set a card, which would be nice, but I would banish whatever they summon and they protect their Lady. So that's why I didn't activate Ice Dragon Prison as well. The Ariana does resolve here, and we're going to trigger the Stovey Torby, pitching the Lovely, since that is a card we're likely going to be summoning back with the big welcome, so it makes more sense to pitch that instead of the Nibirus, and then we just pass turn. Yes, the opponent can attack me for game here, which is exactly what they're going to go for, and we're going to trigger the big welcome, hoping the opponent doesn't have Ash Blossom, but of course they draw a second Ash Blossom. I'm going to be forced to activate Ice Dragon Prison, so the opponent rightfully didn't chain Lady to my big welcome because they wanted to Ash it, but then when I use Ice Dragon Prison, the opponent does not activate Lady to set or big welcome to protect, so I'm able to double banish the Lady since Ice Dragon Prison doesn't target, it plays around Lady's effect, and now the opponent just lost their Lady and their Stovey Torby, and because I was able to remove a card from the field, we're going to be able to trigger our own Stovey and Ariana. And I don't know what the opponent was on there, but you know, you just need to make sure you know how to play Labyrinth, otherwise you run into a situation like this, losing a game you absolutely should have won.